This month I came, I read, and I conquered. I didn't intend to or plan to read as much as I did, but I joined a program through NetGalley, an online program that allows me from time to time get books, often early before they're released, from publishers and from authors to read and to critique and give an honest review for them giving me the book. And so I started that program, and I asked for books and got more than I intended. A lot of them graphic novels. So this is going to be interesting. We're going to start with the books, and then we'll get to the graphic novels at the end. So this isn't in exact chronological order of the books I read in the order that I read them. Nevertheless, the first book that I read is maybe somewhat of a surprise to you because it's not your traditional fantasy, definitely not your sci-fi that I would typically read on this channel. But every once in a while, I've already acknowledged this before, I like to go through classics that I may have missed along the way. This is one of those classics. Princess Bride by William Goldman. It's a movie that I had seen, of course, like most of you. Incredible, impeccable, incredible cast, incredible script, incredible directing, acting, everything. It was so good. I watched it time and time again in music class, in middle school. Our teacher, I think 7th grade year, was pregnant, had her baby, and so we had a substitute come in, and we watched this movie on repeat, and I wasn't sad about it. It was great. I remember it being scary at certain times. Certain images, I haven't seen it in years, and certain images and scenes are drilled into my mind that I was able to relive and revisit by reading this book, because the movie adaptation is incredibly faithful to the book. And the book like laid the scene for all of that creativity and uniqueness of character and fun of all of that is from the book. Like none of it's new, which is fine. Movie's great, and they did great at that, but is pretty much a shot for shot, scene for scene remake from the book. Everything does it here for me. One of the things that we don't really get in the movie, it's kind of, they're doing a slightly different twist, is the annotations and the cut-ins from the author here in this book. It's you don't get that in the movie, and that's so much fun. It just adds to the humor. There's so much humor here that just works for me, and it's a whole lot of fun. I had heard that it was a great book, and I'm glad that I finally got around to it because it's a great book. It is hilarious. It's definitely a must read. 5 stars for sure. And then I read the final book in the first Law trilogy by Joe Abercrombie called Last Argument of Kings. This has been a wild ride for me. Months ago, I picked up the first book in this series as my first kind of venture into what is grimdark, and it was intriguing. I liked it enough to continue into the second book. The second book, it kind of missed it for me, and I was like, I think I'm going to finish this series, but I'm not entirely sure. After reading this third and final book in the trilogy, I am so glad that I did because it is absolutely exquisite. I wish I would have known from the beginning that what Abercrombie was doing was a character study of sorts. Like, it's not about the action, although in this third book there is tons of it. It's not about even the world building. It's not about the magic systems. It's not about the drama. It's about the characters. And I should have seen that from the beginning, because the characters that he gave us from the start are not your typical heroes and heroines and villains and side characters. But this is a series, a trilogy about its characters, and being able to see their final outcome and who they became and who they didn't become and who made it to the end, all of that was so much fun. As I'm coming to this third book, I'm just now realizing that this month I may have given out more 5 stars than ever before. I also gave this book 5 stars. It's the first in the Banned series, which will be a trilogy by Nicholas Eames. It is Kings of the Wild, and it rocked my freaking socks off. I've truly never read a book like this before. The sheer amount of creativity and fun, but also like ruthfulness and real fantasy, traditional fantasy storytelling, while it's a complete different spin on it. And I know I'm going, it's because listen to this premise, listen to the plot. Clay Cooper and his band Saga were once the greatest of all mercenary bands of all time. Once. Now we are 20 years removed, and these guys are some combination of fat, bald, and drunk. Not that all of those are necessarily bad or equally bad, but they're all in various stages of life, are living apart from one another. Some are married, some are happy, some are not happy, but something happens to one of their daughters that brings the band back together again. And so this old mercenary band whose name is renowned has to join back together, and they go on, I promise you, a D&D adventure. I thought about Dungeons and Dragons so many times as I was reading this tale, because not only do you have the creatures like dragons, and that's really the only one that I can think of right now, but all of the different kind of creatures that D&D, owlbears, it's a funny whole side story in this, but you've got all of those kobolds, they're all coming back to my mind right now, all of those D&D creatures. You've got the dungeons and the adventures and the combat. They're not rolling the dice, but you've got all of that drama that is found in a good D&D game and campaign, all wrapped up in this like 80s band getting back together kind of drama and ordeal. It's fantastic of an idea, and Eames pulls it off to the nth degree. In Kings of the Wild, it is the characters and the action scenes. Those are the two things that shine brightest. The action scenes, there are a lot of them. Gruesome, epic, so much fun to read. And then the characters, there are a lot of them. And they're all great, especially the band members. They're wonderful, but also the side characters and even the villain, he's got some depth, and there's a lot of world building here. The only thing that I would say is it's a little bit lengthy, and there's a lot of like world building like elements that are just dumped on you, info dumps. I don't love those, but again, it does feel very D&D, as if a dungeon master is sitting behind the table describing what you're now seeing. That's what's happening here. It would not surprise me one bit if Nicholas Eames loves both Dungeons and Dragons and like 80s hair band, rock band type situations, because that's what you get here. And again, I gave it 5 stars. The final book that I read this month was An Ember in the Ashes by Saba Tahir. This was another reread. I believe this is my 3rd reread, and I love this series. It's 5 stars again, which is insane. The plot here is you've got 2 main characters you're kind of following. You're following Laia, who is a slave, and you're following Elias, who is a soldier. And the premise is that neither of them are free. They're both in kind of bondage. Elias is wanting to break free from the Empire and his elite military training school that he's a part of. And then Laia is wanting to kind of break out of her very kind of literal chains and bondage to try to rescue her family and try to save all of that thing. And their stories intertwine. It's a really, really good, slept on, not appreciated enough series that I'm rereading, because the final book, the 4th and final book in the series, is coming out in December. That's when it's coming out. I've already talked about the like big cover reveal when the final book cover and title were released, because I'm super hype about it. You can watch the video in the annotations. I love Tahir as an author. I love her creativity and her prose. It's all unique here. Again, a 5-star read. I love this series. Rereading it. If you haven't yet, hop on it now, because you could read the 3 books leading up to the grand finale that is coming again this December. Hop on the boat if you're not on it yet. The truck, the trailer, whatever this thing is, hop on, because it's going fast, it's going far, and it's great. And I don't know what I'm saying, but it's good, so do it. Those are all the books that I read this last month, but now I'm going to quickly zoom through the graphic novels. Watch as I zoom, I promise I will. The Old Guard, Book 2, Force Multiplied by Greg Rucka. I have already talked about The Old Guard 1. I haven't watched what is it? It's not Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Plus. I don't know, Amazon Plus, Disney, what? There's a show that has just recently come out, and people are kind of reinterested in The Old Guard. This was a graphic novel novel series that came out in, when did it come out? 2020. Oh, it's relatively new. At least this one did. I think it's going to be a trilogy. The third one's not out yet. It's great. It's great. It's far greater than what I thought that it was going to be. I ended up giving this 4.5 stars and didn't expect to. Very quickly, it's about this mercenary gang that gets together, but they are immortals until they're not. And we don't know how they become not, but until they're not, they are. And they've gotten together over time, and they have dreams, nightmares when a new one is born or made, and they go and find that person, bring them into the mercenary guild. And it's really their stories, their backstories of how they got to where they are and how they became who they are. This second one, I think, was even better than the first one. Had a lot of drama. It's gory, but it's a lot of fun for what it is. And then Alan Moore's Batman the Killing Joke. I had sworn that I had read this. I've read most of like the key Batman graphic novels that you're supposed to read if you like both superheroes and graphic novels, Batman and graphic novels, which I do. And I've seen the Mark Hamill animated show of The Killing Joke or whatever it was, special, but I guess I hadn't read the graphic novel, or if I did, it's been a while and I had never reviewed it on Goodreads. So I went back and read this, 5 stars, no surprise. It's one of the greatest comics of all time. So most certainly one of the greatest, if not the greatest Batman comic of all time. It's not another Batman origin story, thank God. It's kind of a Joker origin story, giving us this like back and forth between Joker, pre-Joker, when he was just a comedian, a failed comedian, and living with his wife or girlfriend at least, and everything that led up to him becoming the Joker and beginning his hatred with and his feud with Batman, and the conclusion that leaves everyone on the edge of their seats of like, what in the world just happened? And it's kind of open to your own interpretation. I think that it is beautifully done, beautifully illustrated, one of the best illustrated Batman comics for sure. And it's just a good story that we don't typically get in Batman, like in just superhero retellings all the time. This is not one of those, so it was kind of just a breath of fresh air coming into back to the superhero genre. Definitely a read, 5 stars. And then All-Star Superman by Grant Morrison. Absolute All-Star Superman is what I read, which was the first volume, and the second, the complete thing. And I had mixed feelings on this one. I loved the artwork. It's very beautiful, very detailed, very worth looking at. Every single pane and panel. I also really liked that it was a different kind of Superman story. Superman is not my favorite. I kind of fall into the same category that a lot of people fall into, that he's just so powerful, and like, what story do you tell? You have to find new ways to like kill him. It's just, I don't know. This series was a lot more like modern and accessible to those that aren't necessarily hardcore Superman fans. On the other hand, the dialogue and the storytelling lacked. It seemed like they rushed certain areas, and then on others, they stayed too long. And they didn't know what they were doing, in the story overall that they were telling was just kind of like weird and weak, and I don't know. I fell right in the middle on this one. I do think it's very accessible for people to come into and read. You don't have to know much about Superman to start off with it, but it's probably not the best Superman there is. I'm still on my quest to find the best Superman. Both this graphic novel and maybe another one that I've read this month, I included in one of the top 10 graphic novels to get into as new beginners. And I probably still hold my place on that. I think it's good for if you're wanting to get into the graphic novel genre and you like superheroes, this might be a good one to get you into the genre. But it's not one of my favorite. I gave it 3 stars, and I stand by that. Vatu, The Name and the Mark by Evan Dahm, is another one that I included in that top 10 graphic novels that you must read if you want to get into the genre, because this is unique and unlike any other. It is a webcomic series. It's ongoing. It's still not yet complete, and it's super intriguing. So every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I believe a new panel or a new series of panels are released, and it is freaking adorable. It is the story of a young tribal girl named Vatu who is kind of thrust into slavery, into this like advanced imperial civilization, but it's so far removed from humanity and from what we're used to here on Earth. It is a complete different reality with different looking creatures. There's no humans, at least so far. I don't think there will be. There are all these different races that you don't know anything about. Some full panels, some full pages don't even have words on it. The words and the dialogue are limited, but I think that does really well here. It takes a long time to tell stories because it's an ongoing webcomic and because there's such limited dialogue, but I think that enhances and highlights the art and the beauty and the characterization. I'm sold. I'm into it. I've been reading it online on the webcomic, but I want it in paperback form. And so I've already requested that for my birthday, which is right around the corner. So if you would like to send me all 3 so far volumes of Vatu, that would be great. I've already finished the first one and I give it a 4-star rating. Bear by Ben Queen is one of the first ARC books that I got, ARC, Advanced Reader, Advanced Review copies that I got, and it's a children's graphic novel, and it's delightful. It is absolutely adorable. It's about a sing-eye dog, a guide dog, named Bear, and his owner Patrick, and they get separated, they get split up. In fact, Bear, the dog, begins to lose his vision, and then he's kind of questioning his purpose, and then he connects with some other wildlife, wild animals, some friendly, some not so much, that try to help guide him around town and help him to realize that his purpose is greater than even his vision as he makes his way back to his owner Patrick. So it's got some deeper themes there, while it's beautifully illustrated, beautifully characterized with the characters, and it was just a lot of fun. Absolutely adorable. Perfect for children ages like 8 through 12 is what I said. I gave it a full 5 stars because it completely fulfills what it's trying to do. Do I think that it is like 5 stars compared to The Killing Joke or something else like that? 2 totally different realms, but for a children's graphic novel, this one definitely fits the bill. It definitely does it. And we'll end on a sour note. It's Strange Skies Over East Berlin, another ARC graphic novel provided by the publisher by Jeff Loveness. Didn't love it. Didn't love the art. Didn't love the story that was being told. Didn't care for the characters. Felt that kind of all it was just blah. It just wasn't. There wasn't anything special about it. It's a sci-fi graphic novel set in the heart of the Cold War. An American spy comes over because something fell from the sky, something came from the sky. It's kind of first contact, and it's dealing with that species or that alien that, I don't know, something about like revealing the truth of each individual. It was supposed to be like this dark and gritty and supposed to be meaning something more, and I just didn't fall for it. It didn't work for me at all. It wasn't the worst thing ever, so I didn't give it a 1 star. I did settle with a solid 2, but I would say probably skip over this one. Even if you like kind of the whole like spy, Cold War, espionage, all of that, just there's probably better. That is my August wrap up. All of the books that I read in the month of August. A whole lot of graphic novels. A whole lot of like ARC, advanced. Is it advanced reader copy or is it advanced review copy? Both would make sense. I don't know which one it is. Nevertheless, I read them, and these were my thoughts. Hopefully you found some that you could now read. If there are any books that you think that I'm missing that I haven't yet read, please let me know in the comments down below. Would love to have some fresh books and ideas to read for September. Other than that, thank you so much for watching this video, for clicking like. If you haven't yet, click subscribe and join the Dragon Army, and we'll see you in the next video.